Hi, Eden Cause, your host, bringing along my company, Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. P.S. Just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a psychological empath, meditation master, dimensional healer, all the things to help you within this ascension. To learn more about me, visit me at EdenJustBe.com. And let's get this party started. Eden here, Just Be Spiritual Boom podcast in association with the Grassroots Network. All right, today's going to be a little different. In just a second, you will get to meet the very interesting 80-year-old Calvin Schwartz, who is a podcast host, writer of 2 books. He's had such cool spiritual experiences, and I'll explain a little bit more when we meet him, why I think it's really important for him to be on the show. Yet, before we start, I just got back from a really amazing trip to New Mexico in the States, and I want to share that with you. Ended up staying in an Earthship for 2 days. This ship is really a house, and it is completely off the grid, totally sustainable in terms of not having electricity bills, water bills, heating bills. It just creates all of that itself. And before we went to stay at the Earthship, I got to meet Angie, who describes herself as a recovering minimalist. So now she allows herself to create 1/2 bag of garbage per year. So driving out to meet her on this land, there were a whole bunch of squatters there. It was really interesting. Like a part of me and Bailey, who I went with, who is in the beginning of a lot of the podcast shows, we were like, where are we going? What is this going to be like? And I was amazed just to watch her. Like, I don't think I could, I know I couldn't live that way. I mean, it's bare minimum. Yet to see that some people can do that, it was incredible. Then I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, so what's this Earthship going to be like after being with Angie? Is it going to be as minimal as this? Is it going to be, what have I done? So we got there, and the outside of all the Earthships, very creative, very, very interesting looking. And when we drove up, the community that we were staying is an Earthship community. So it's not only these cool, different houses, but also you're in this beautiful place in New Mexico with mountains and just astonishing. It's like you're on another planet. So I want to show you the video, and then I'll show you some pictures from the inside. So for those who are just listening, you'll just hear some music. Yet it's amazing to see that we can live now this way. It's not waiting on Tesla energy or any of that stuff. There are houses that are legitimate now, and there are places you can live without any government. We also watched Netflix. We had Wi-Fi for our phones. So here you go. Check it out. Okay, Eden here. Bailey behind the camera is my producer. And I know I don't have a mic on, so probably yelling. I just want to show this from my podcast. For 2 days, we're staying at the Earthship Atlantis in New Mexico. We woke up this morning, Bailey. Oh, you're doing such a great job scanning. Scan out. So there's a gorge over here, the mountains over here. The Earthship is solar panels, water is created there, so we are off the grid. So everything within the Earthship is taken care of, from your heating, your water. It's amazing. And I don't just say that because a part of us coming here, we were like, what's it going to be like? It's really great. So this also shows that there are other ways to live, other ways to be. Thank you so much, God, for allowing us to be here and to share this with you. Thank you. Okay, I decided to talk when showing these pictures. So these are pictures of Atlantis, the bedrooms, the kitchen, the patio, and we were right beside the Rio Grande Gorge. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then to go back to solar panels, I know that a lot of you listeners know that there are some issues with that technology. including the energy it takes to make them, and when they're finished, landfill issues. So not saying this is perfect, yet in New Mexico, someone told me that it's sunny there like 90 to 95% of the time. So I looked that up too. So this percentage measures the yearly average between sunrise and sunset that sunshine reaches the ground. So Albuquerque is 76%, and we were in Taos, which is very close. And I didn't mention this. The ship itself is made of natural and recycled materials like earth-packed tires and glass bottles. And not only does it provide its own water and energy, thermodynamics, but also waste management. And doing that through the plants that are inside, it's just really, really cool. So Michael Reynolds is the founder, creator of the concept. Search it up, Earthships. Really neat. And Calvin is waiting patiently for me. So let me mention that I don't know if y'all have watched Silver going through the roof. It's so amazing. So Miles Franklin, as I talk about at the beginning of the show, y'all know they helped me through a gold IRA scam. So I totally recommend them to purchase through them, and to send gold or silver your way, because I feel that having some at your own house is great. So info@milesfranklin.com, put Eden in the subject line. They know me personally. And then I also recommend going and watching them on episode 188 if you want to know more about scans, more about mints. It's just really, really incredible. Calvin Schwartz from New Jersey. How you doing?
I'm fine. Cold, but fine.
Yeah, you're probably like me, where we have a foot of snow on the ground right now. How about you?
11 inches, to be
11
honest.
inches. There you go.
11 inches.
All right. I love having you here on the show today because aging. I already talked to you earlier, said that you were not 90. You're 80 years old. And you, as we talk about, one of the guys that I really love through this Great Awakening talks about aging. He described it as a disease. And at that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, it totally switched my perception of it. So much has switched. So Calvin, and we know, or I believe that through this awakening, it's not only just the med beds that are going to be fantastic, but the change is within you. It's within your heart, your soul, your DNA. You are still responsible for everything. We talk about this Great Awakening is also about sovereignty, freedom, all that. So Calvin, you call yourself a longevity expert, and we are here to talk about your life, your books, your spiritual experiences, and the richness that comes from that. May I read your bio?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and usually I edit things down, but this was so good. There are a couple things that I edited down just to make it a little bit shorter, but all right, here we go. Meet Calvin Barry Schwartz, and I've been on his show, by the way. 6'5", tall, impossible to miss, literally, which is why sneaking onto a scene in Meryl Streep's movie One True Thing was such an achievement. This Jersey guy has 9 lives and receipts to prove it. Survived a VW rolling over 5 times at 65 miles per hour, walked away without a scratch, got mysteriously healed of a devastating knee injury walking out of church in Nazareth, and there were 4 witnesses, once lost 100 pounds in 2.5 months like he was possessed. After selling eyeglasses for a billionaire for 25 years, this Newark ex-pharmacist watched Casablanca for the 54th time and thought, I could write something like that. So he did, twice. His second novel, There's a Tortoise in My Hair, A Journey to Spirit. There you go. He's showing it for those who are watching. Earned a Kirkus, did I say that right? A Kirkus star?
Kirkus star.
Okay. And he has had comparisons to Philip Roth, Kurt Vonnegut, John Irving, transforming a midlife crisis into a deeply personal and darkly humorous meditation and morality and the mysterious forces that guide us through our darkest moments. Not bad for a guy who started his teaching career at Rutgers at 74 when most people are perfecting their golf game. These days, Calvin practices what he preaches, flexitarian since 1975, sharper than ever. He's conducted 7 paranormal investigations, gorbs, ghosts, orbs, the works, almost tried out for the Chicago Bulls in 1976, and hosts a global podcast, which is the one I have been on with 700 plus interviews and videos. His third book, what was out a month ago? How recent?
Yes, December.
December. Okay, so two months ago ish. It's called 10 Things I Learned from the Billionaire. Spoiler, longevity techniques work. He's living proof. That's so rich. What do you think about that as I read through it? This is your life.
Well, it's as you're reading it, it's kind of out of body because I'm trying to be objective about it, and I'm listening to that, and I can't help but say, is that me?
Yeah.
It is me, and I'm just a regular guy, and I always say that I'm just a regular guy. I go to college, Rutgers football games, basketball games. I eat tuna subs, with or without provolone, don't make a difference. But that's my life. I'm a regular guy. But it's funny, you get to a certain. It's like that movie, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
With Jimmy Stewart. By the way, that movie was written by a Rutgers guy. Nobody knows that.
No.
I know it. But it's like that movie. You don't realize what you've done and how and the lives you've influenced and the things you've done until one day you sit and you smell the roses and the coffee and all that stuff, and you look around and oh wow, I've done stuff and it's interesting. So, but when you hear it, and like you so eloquently read that bio, it is me, but you're still conflicted. How could that be me? But it is.
It
But
is.
nobody knows because I haven't made it onto Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, and nobody knows. And this book, got a Kirkus store, which is huge, and it's got 5 more awards. I keep getting awards. This book last month won the gold medal in the Global Book Awards for metaphysical and visionary. But nobody knows. It is what it is, I
Man.
guess.
Well,
Uh,
everybody here knows, and you were holding up the book, the tortoise. Can you tell us first your journey from pharmacist to eyeglasses to how you totally switched that? And I think that's one of the keys to longevity is you don't stop. And I'm not saying, oh my God, you got to work, and it's not that, but always to find something in life that really sparks you and makes you just want to get up in the morning. Yeah, tell us how you got here today from the beginning to now.
sure. I was trained and I went to Rutgers College of Pharmacy, and science and chemistry and physics and all that stuff. I hated. I detested math. I detested everything. I didn't like that stuff. What did I like? I liked history and I liked, English. But I had a wonderful, overbearing mother who thought pharmacy would be a great career to fall back on. And that's what I heard, all my years growing up. You got to have a profession of pharmacy to fall back on. So, boom, without any resistance on my part, I went to pharmacy school. And actually, I write about a lot of that in here, how I got through pharmacy school. It wasn't necessarily studying, but it was doing, Spike Lee doing the right thing. And it didn't involve studying. It found other ways to succeed. But I did all of that reluctantly and became a pharmacist. And I practiced pharmacy for 12 years, but there was always something in the belly.
Yeah,
And
yeah, oh yeah.
at Eden, I could never, I did certainly, I never went for help because guys don't ask for directions. Never stopped at a gas station when I got lost and asked for directions. So we don't ask for directions, we don't go for help, but there was something inside me, and I knew it. I just couldn't identify it. So I became a pharmacist for 12 years, and one morning, actually, oh wow, this is my anniversary, February 3rd, 1981. Oh wow. I just realized that. Thank you for bringing that out. February 3rd, 1981, I woke up and I looked at my poor young new wife, I said to her, "I'm quitting my profession today." And we just got married, bought a house. She said, "What do you mean?" I said, I can't do this anymore." And you know what? Even I don't know where that came from. It's
Yeah.
all part of a grand design of things. So I quit my profession. And at that exact second in time, we listened to the radio, and there was a little blurb on about Edison Valley Playhouse having tryouts for this new play called Frankenstein. It was a play that they put on, and so they're looking for actors. So I thought it was divine intervention that because I'm 6'5", and I could be the creature and monster. Maybe I could have a new career as an actor. So I actually auditioned for that play in 1981, and actually I'm still waiting to hear. I haven't heard, so I don't know if I got the part or not. I
Oh
guess I didn't.
gosh.
You
I would
know, it's been
assume
a
not.
long. It's 40 years, so I guess I didn't. And I came home here and I sat home. I sat for 6 months. I sat watching One Life to Live, General Hospital, and the Rockford Files. And my poor wife she's teaching. We live in Jersey. She's teaching in Brooklyn, and it really wasn't a way to conduct a new marriage, and lots of tension. And finally, I had somebody, a good friend, say, "Calvin, you got to do something. How about if I get you a job selling eyeglasses?" Um, it took me a while. It took me a few midnight walks looking at the moon and the stars at night to realize I better do something. So I took the job, and I didn't know if I had that something where I can get in front of people to sell, because I was kind of a shy, quiet guy back then.
Yeah.
But it was a matter of survival, and I knew that. So I took the job, and I liked the communicative aspect of talking to people, and they liked me, I liked them. And after a year, I built up a nice reputation, and this new up and coming company called Luxottica was looking to spin off a new division, and because people knew me, they recommended me, and I got that job with Luxottica Group in 19. It was 1983,
Hmm.
and there I spent the next 25 years.
Okay, let me
And
let me go back to this for a moment. It takes so much guts to quit something you went to school for, that your mama, said this is what you're going to do, and within your gut to go, this just does not fit me. And to leave, I'm assuming you had good income, everything was good, quote unquote, from an outside perspective. So I'm really, and we have many people that come on the show that made a life direction switch, and a lot of that was because of illness or something major that was staring them in the face. You just did it. Love that.
I just did it, and you know what? Why and how? Well, I know now because looking back, and you have all these things that have happened to me. It's all spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
It's all spiritual, and spiritual is a wonderful word because it's a great umbrella because it encompasses everything, and it's one of my favorite words, and that's why it's the title, part of the title, of this book, Journey to Spirit. So it was a spiritual thing, and I didn't really know that it was spiritual, but
Yeah.
it was a realization that this profession wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
There was just something inside, and so I answered it, and it wasn't easy. And you know what? It was a real fine line. And if there was ever a time that I could have done it, it was then. My wife was earning a nice living as a teacher, and we could make do. So that's why I spent 6 months sitting home. It's funny. I never liked the taste of alcohol. I could have become like a major alcoholic because I'm lost. I'm smoking. I never smoked before. I'm eating with abandon, and thank God I never liked the taste of alcohol. So it was just so I ate. I ate and I ate and I ate and smoked. But there was just something inside, and that's it. You have to look inside, and you have to find and kind of answer these things, and not listen. It wasn't easy to do
Yeah.
that. It was
No.
really hard to do that. And I examine that all the time that day. And again, it's so funny. Today's the anniversary. My goodness. Wow. Hard, hard, hard. And I don't know if I could have ever done that in any other, but I've made these kind of decisions all along. So when
Well,
I started with Exotica, it was wonderful.
okay, and I wanted to ask you when I made a choice. Yeah, well, I've made a couple choices just like that, but there was one time I made a choice, and everybody outside of me was like, "Why are you doing that?" And it was one of those things. I'm doing it for me. I know it may not look logical to you. I'm assuming you got some backlash. Did your mom go, "What the heck are you doing?" I'm sure your wife was like, What's up?"
My family, uh, my family, of course, my wife is devastated. Her parents were devastated, especially her parents. My parents, my mother, who I was so close with, pictures right over there. She looks at me 12 hours a day forever. My mom, and she actually, I don't think we have time, but she actually came out of that picture a few years ago, and typed. I don't know if we talked about that
We
when.
did.
Yeah, she actually came out of that picture and typed "mom" inexplicably, and without. And I actually have a screen print. But Lord, but anyway, she of course knew that I've had a tumultuous, not tumultuous in the sense, but it's been a tumultuous life. A lot of it revolving around the profession which I wasn't suited for.
Yeah.
I wasn't suited for that. So she was supportive. Again, my in-laws, what is he doing? He's not working, and you're working. So these were all ingredients. It didn't help a young marriage, but I have an amazing wife, supportive beyond, supportive beyond the realms of normal understanding.
So, how long have y'all been married? Today's the anniversary. What? Tell me.
Well,
Tell
today's
me.
the anniversary of my quitting pharmacy.
Oh yeah. Okay. How long have
Yes.
y'all been married?
Uh, 49 years.
Okay.
It's heavy duty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that too is a major spiritual thing, how we met, off the charts.
Okay,
Uh,
can we go into that real quick, and we'll get back to the eyeglasses and everything. How did y'all meet? I You and I haven't talked about this story.
no, and I examined it in here too because it's powerful stuff. I was married the first time, and I was married the first time, and we married 4 years. It's funny. The night before I got married the first time, great story. The night before we got married the first time, my first wife and I, we used to fight about everything. We fought about where to go for dinner.
Oh man.
She wanted Asian fusion, and I wanted Italian, and we fought about everything.
Yeah.
And the night before we got married, she lives around the corner from me. We had this tremendous fight about something stupid, about a relative who wrote us a card and how to write a thank you card. A huge fight, and she ran into it was like at midnight. We were getting married the next day, and she ran into my mother's bathroom right off the kitchen, and she came out and slammed the door, and the tiles fell off, and she ran out. And thank God, I said, my parents, everybody's sleeping, and my two sisters and my parents are sleeping. And lo and behold, my mother was in the dining room. She comes out and the tears are dripping down her face. And she said to me, Calvin, you cannot marry this girl tomorrow. It's not meant to be. You can't. All you do is fight. Please just don't get married.
Yeah.
And then I said something really profound to her. And it's funny now. I said, you know what, Mom? It really doesn't make any difference who I marry tomorrow because I'm going to get divorced. Because statistically, that's what happens. So I'm going to get married knowing that I'm going to get divorced, but I want to
Whoa.
get that part of my life over with quickly. So
Whoa.
yeah, so that's how I got married the first time, knowing that it's just a test. It's just that I was smart enough to understand. this is the way my generation back in the 60s, in the early 70s, this is how we approached things. We were getting divorced all over the place. We got married young, we got divorced. So I wanted to get on with my life. So it's kind of like a scene out of The World According to Garp, John Irving, who I've been compared to, pre-disastered. So this was pre-disastered, and that's how we did it. And it was probably one of the most amicable divorces in the history of America. I got my athletic supporters, my sneakers, and my desk, and she got whatever else was left. There wasn't much left, and it was great, you know. So how I met,
Okay, so
uh,
it was done. You got that out of the way. That is
yeah,
so funny.
yeah,
But
and then
okay. And then
uh,
what?
I, and then I did the single scene, which I didn't like, I'd gone to Club Med, and I met a fascinating woman from Chicago, and I hung out in Chicago. Almost tried out for the Chicago Bulls. This is '76, and then I decided to backpack and go to Europe because I was getting tired stateside, and I had gone to all these embassies in Belgium and France, Israel, England, and maybe Italy, just to backpack and use my pharmacy license. So I was at a wedding. As I'm about to do all this stuff in January, it was now November, and I was at a wedding. I met a cousin, told me there's a great singles dance in New York City, Manhattan. I should go. Boom, boom. So I went that Sunday night, pouring rain, didn't want to go. And my cousin never showed up. I was alone. I was disgusted. I had a white Russian. It was, cream and Kahlua and cocoa and whatever. It covered the taste of the alcohol, which I hate. And I had like two of them in rapid succession. And I called the bartender over and I told him I'm from Texas and my father has oil wells and you know where all the action is. Why don't you direct me? And just at that exact second in infinite time, these two girls, women, came over to the bar and they heard me say, I'm from Texas and my father has oil wells. That's all I needed to say. So the woman, the girl next to me said to her friend, this guy over here thinks he's really cool and he ain't from Texas.
Because of your accent, I'm guessing.
Yeah, my accent was pure Jersey, you know. So that's what she said in those few seconds, in those few precious seconds. And then, of course, I turned to her because I was a little ticked off, why? And I started to talk to her, and of course, 7 months later, we got married. Um,
7 months.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what
Well,
was it about in that?
actually, we got married in July. And that was November, so 8 months, whatever it was, you know. But I marvel at the universe and its spirituality because we're talking about 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah,
If she walks over to the bar 3 seconds later, and I've already said I'm from Texas and I have oil wells, that's it. I'm from Texas, I have oil wells. 3 seconds. She doesn't hear that. She doesn't say that thing. I don't start talking to her. I go my own way. Done. And you and I
right.
wouldn't be here right now talking. And that's how fragile and amazing the universe is because it's just 3 seconds in a life that changes a
Changes
life.
everything. What was it about her that connected you to her?
Um, well, one of the best things, early on. So as soon as I said, "Hey, could we talk?" And she said that, "Can we talk?" So it was a singles dance at a place called Wednesdays in the city, and it was a big, like a city block underneath. It was in the upper east side. Anyway, we took her over. We sat in a little corner and we just talked for a couple of hours.
Wow.
And the it was the commonalities. And the thing that really impressed me the most was she was married once before, and that was
She
a
was too.
prerequisite for me. I wanted somebody who had experienced marriage once before.
Oh my God, that's so interesting too, Calvin, because most people that would not be a prerequisite. That would not be
Wow.
a,
Important for
oh
me.
man. I'm assuming hers was it pretty short lived as well?
Yeah, it's same thing. We both were 4 years.
You have got to be kidding me.
We both 4 years, like 4 years of college, 4 years of high school, 4 years of marriage. Everything was 4 years. 444. Actually, 444. Yeah.
Okay, and now we're at 49. What? Okay, would you for a second tell our audience what you think is okay, so maybe the first key is being married at first and having that experience and getting it out of the way. For 49 years, what would you advise people for longevity? What is true love?
Uh, Great question. It's support. It's loving what each one is doing in their life and supporting its visions of a life together and a future and the importance of family. And what really strengthened our bond and our love was we always planned to have a family. And then we embarked on many years of not being able to have a family the traditional way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, and we both loved kids. She was a teacher, an elementary school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And from the time I was 10 years old, and I write about it in here, I write about it here, my character and me in real life. I was 10 years old. I used to sit on this jetty at the Jersey Shore dreaming, not of playing basketball or baseball for the New York Yankees, but I used to dream of being somebody's father someday.
No
It was,
way.
yeah, it was an obsession with me for a young kid. Of course, I never went to a psychologist to see what the hell's wrong with me, why I think about that stuff. Yeah, I always wanted to play for the Knicks and the Yankees and Dodgers and stuff, but I also wanted to experience fatherhood and that was always a part of me and she felt the same way about being a mother and then when we finally decided to pursue that we were comfortable enough with each other and the love was real. You start and then the practical side, we both have to be earning good livings, and we try to be practical. We share so many of the same values, which is really good. I'm not talking about politics or anything like that, but we shared the
Heart
same values
values.
about people and stuff, and so then we embarked, and of course I had problems, and I had to go through a couple of operations to fix my plumbing, and then she had problems as a result of wearing an IUD for a million years, and then it wasn't going to happen ever. So then what's left?
Yeah.
Adoption. Adoption. And then I was in favor of it because I needed to be a father and a parent and to, take a kid to the mall on Christmas and put a kid on Santa's lap and to experience all those wonderful joys of being a parent. And I had to have that, and she wasn't so sure about that. So then began the next year or two of daily conversations about that issue. I'm hugely in favor of it, and she wasn't really. So we
Mm-hmm.
began a year or two, and that's what really tests the strength of the love and the
No
support
kidding.
and the commitment
Mm-hmm.
to endure. And I'm thinking about it, talking to you. I'm realizing it, and I never realized that before. I'm just like talking to you. That really tests the strength of a bond and a journey that we weathered. Probably, I guess most divorces take place because of money issues or children issues. Those are powerful issues that split marriages.
Mm-hmm.
And we endured that. And we did in vitro, by the way. We were one of it was a pioneering procedure back in 1980. It was very pioneering, and we weren't prime candidates for that because we were older. I was in my late 30s back then and sang with her. And we weren't candidates for that. But at the very end, they took us not out of pity, but out of, well, let's see what happens in vitro with older people. And
Hmm.
so we got into that program, and that lasted like a year. They give us 3 shots. And one time we almost thought, it was actually Christmas. We almost thought we were pregnant. And it was great. The hormone levels are up and
Oh,
stuff. And boom, the next day, you're not. And it was a rough time. And then, of course, we then proceeded to talk about adoption for a year or two. Um, and finally, one night, it was the last conversation that I had with her, dealing with, her objections about one of her concerns is how can I, love a stranger?
yeah.
How can I love a stranger like that? And then, and we dealt with that for, intensely for a year. And then one night, I said, "This is the last thing I'm ever going to say to you." It was down. We were really at a precipice of a relationship because I can't expect her to change her mind, and she can't expect me to change my mind. So what happens? So it's kind of an immovable thing, and what happens? But anyway, I said to her one night, it was the last time. I said it's the last thing I'm ever going to say. But you keep saying, about loving a stranger. Guess what? We met in a bar in New
I'm
York.
a stranger. Right.
We're strangers, and guess what? We're still strangers because we never did that Native American ceremony when you cut your wrists and you put your wrists together and you become blood brothers.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, poignant ceremony, and we never did that, and we're still strangers no matter how you slice it. So I don't see how a baby is any different. It's just part of us, who we are, strangers, strangers when we meet. And the following morning, had a little glimmer in her eye. I said, "Yeah, I'm going to think about that." Came home from work that day and said, "I'm ready to adopt."
Okay, is that what y'all ended up doing?
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Did you adopt
And
one or more?
well, it was just one. It was we did one. I was kind of hoping maybe for a couple more, but it was fine because our son is perfectly suited to be an only child, and it was
Wait a minute,
magic.
I'm an only
But
child. Hold on.
he was put on this earth to be, an only child, and it's been nothing but perfect, wonderful joy
Wow.
all these years. And actually, I don't mind saying, this book I wrote that's really poignant. And I'm working with Kay Wagner, who's an amazing best-selling author, the Trailer Park series she's writing. She collaborated with me, and our next book, which we're going to start in the spring, is 10 Things I Learned About Adoption.
That makes complete sense. Again, isn't it so neat when you talk about spiritual things happening that when you're in the middle of them, okay, here we are. Yet when you're removed and you can look back on it clearly, that suddenly like, oh my God, I learned so much and this was so like there's such clarity with distance and time. Do you mind for a second, Calvin, going back to the eyeglasses? Thank you so much for sharing that story too. So from pharmacy to eyeglasses, and it fit your personality, would you say?
Yeah, it did. Well, it fit my personality in a lot of ways because it was totally it was a growing company and they had strict rules and listen, my boss, the big boss whom I worked for, went on to become the world's richest Italian.
Mm,
Uh, I interacted with him, not as much as I did with his son, which was almost daily.
okay.
And I became a regional manager, and I interacted with the vice president of the company, who is to this day is one of my dear friends, and who collaborated with me also on this. Just genius. So it was absolutely, it suited me. The whole world suited me because it was totally unregulated.
Oh,
As a
everything is
pharmacist, now
regulated.
I'm just looking, as you're answering, asking me these questions, Eden, it makes me think. and I like to think. But when one of my last official jobs in pharmacy, my next to last, I worked for a big chain, and a long story, but and I write about it too. But my last for the year I was with them, I actually was late every day.
Ooh,
I punched in every single day late for a year.
whoa.
And finally, because I was a union organizer, they didn't love me. And I organized the Union of Pharmacists because I was a Bolshevik. I tease, I'm really not a Bolshevik, but I just thought it would help them and help us as a profession, help us provide better care to patients. I knew they had a vendetta and I knew they were going to want to get rid of me. So one day I went to work after the union was formed, and they said you're being fired because you were late 3 days in a row.
Mm.
And I said I'll fight it. This is a true story. There were six of them that surrounded me. You're being fired, terminated. You're late 3 days in a row. And I said you can't. And they said, oh yes we can. And they said as a matter of fact, forget the 3 days. You've been late every day for the last year. And I said that's even more reason why you can't fire me. And they said, what are you talking about? So I pointed to one of the guys and I said, hey, when you interviewed me for this job, you took me upstairs, you interviewed me, and you told me the most important quality of an associate of this company that we look for is consistency. So I was late that first day. I needed to
You're
be consistent.
consistent.
So I've been late every day since. I've been consistent. You can't fire me. Well, they said some actual curse words
Mm.
as they told me to get out, and I got out. But uh, the that regulated part of my life
Yeah.
conflict was so opposite in the eyeglass. Eyeglass was
Oh,
hit or miss, and I made my own hours. And when I eventually became a manager after 2 years and traveled all over the Northeast, and I loved it, it was so like unregulated, so free spirit,
mm,
and it was
mm.
perfectly suited for me. And also this thing inside to teach and to train
Yeah.
and to motivate and to work with people. And I had a wonderfully diverse region, the most diverse region in the company. And I loved every aspect of that. So it
Wow.
was, and by the way, I would have stayed. I would have stayed there until they had to wheel me out. I loved working for them. It was the most amazing
Oh,
experience. Why? Because they became the biggest eyewear company on the planet,
yeah.
totally dominated. And I mean, listen, they own LensCrafters and Pearl and Ray-Ban. They own everything. And I watched from day
Mm.
one the growth and the thinking and the actions. But the whole eyeglass experience was just, and I would have stayed there. I would have stayed there until, they wheeled me out. But then something spiritual happened to me.
What happened?
Well, I watched that movie Casablanca
Mm.
one day, 25 years ago, and I love that movie. And at the very end, Humphrey Bogart shoots the bad guy. It's 1942, and Bogart shoots the bad guy, and German guy. It's the middle of the war, and Claude Rains, this wonderful character actor, picks up a bottle of Vichy water. It's French mineral water that looks like that, and realizes that in 1942, anything with the word Vichy in it was a bad connotation, like you're conspiring with the Germans, and he throws it in the garbage. And talk about spirituality. The second it hit the garbage, I grabbed my head and
Mhm.
I yelled, "Oh my God!" And my wife said, "Are you all right? What happened?" Like Fred Sanford. Hey, Elizabeth, I'm coming. That TV show. And she said, "Are you all right? What happened?" I said, there's a novel in my head.
Wow.
She said, what do you mean? I said, I don't know. I got to write a novel. What is it? What is it about? I said, well, it's called Vichy Water. So I came down here and I outlined this novel, and it took me 5 years to write. And when I finished writing it, I was still working for Luxottica. When I finished writing it, I said, you know what? I'm now a novelist, whatever that means. And I'm going to retire from Luxottica,
Okay,
and I'm
did
going
you
to devote.
did you ever think you were going to write a book?
Oh, never. Never, 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 never. It was never up here
Yeah.
ever. Now I know it would take 3 or 4 more hours of this show to tell your audience that I knew from that moment that something up there put this into my head. And it took me 10 years and all these elements of proof to figure out who put this into my head and for what reason. Well, this became the most wonderful vehicle for me to completely change my life around. Completely. So I retired from Exotica, sat in this chair where I do all my thinking, and said, you know what, I'll become a journalist. And I knew nothing about journalism, who, what, where, when, why. I started writing for a couple of magazines. Then I got hooked up with NJ Discover and Kurt Shumay. It was a production company, and I love him dearly. He's just one of the most amazing humans. And before I knew it, I had a cable TV talk show that I was producing and co-hosting.
Yeah.
And we bring in some national type guests. I didn't know what I was doing,
So
but I was doing it.
let's go back to your wife. Was she just like,
Yes.
okay, Calvin's changing directions again, always supportive of you, just always so nice? Because I mean, this is again another extreme diversion.
By the way, she, if I sat and really thought about it, she's been one amazing person
Mm-hmm.
to endure all this, really amazing. And I try to praise her, and I do praise her in the book, but the book's fiction. So, it's fiction. Yeah, of course, I draw upon. But when I look back, and it's funny, you evoked these thoughts in me that she's been saintly to have endured all these changes. Retiring when I did, we had a son in college. Not easy. We needed the income and stuff, and of course, way back she went back to teaching. She had stopped teaching when my son was born, but the economies of the world, she had to go back to teaching. Yeah, she's been a saint. I mean, truly a saint, and truly defines what support means because she's had to endure all this stuff. And you in Mexico, you were talking about it a bunch of years ago. When I went to Sedona,
Yeah.
for the first time, it was a wonderful spiritual experience for me. And I bought some Native American music, and it was haunting. And it was Coyote Oldman, Incan panpipes and stuff. And one day I was listening to that music because I use music to energize me when I need a swift kick in the butt. I listen to Ode to Joy, by Beethoven, and I listen to that, and then I can do what I have to do. It's wonderful. Or I listen to Simon and Garfunkel, Scarborough Fair, or Donovan, Catch the Wind. I use all these motivational, or Judy Collins, Bob Dylan's Dream. I use all these things to pick me up and energize me. And one day I was listening to Coyote Oldman, that music from Sedona, my poor wife. I went in there, said, you know what? You're not going to understand this, but tomorrow I'm going to fly to Sedona, Scottsdale, Sedona. I'm going to spend a week out there. She said, what are you going to do? Where are you going? I said, I just need to be there. So I flew and spent 5 days in Sedona, just absorbing energy. And that's the kind of stuff with all these changes and the changes. Positive. I was asked a few years ago to teach at Rutgers. I mean, I never taught. She's an amazing teacher. Taught for 35 years, and she sat me down and said, "Teach, do it." So she's very supportive. You know, so I taught at Rutgers, career explorations, networking, and stuff. But she's in the middle everything with support, and that's it's kind of a utopian ideal of two people supporting each other. She does more of the support than I do because it's the way it is. Um,
So she's never come to you and been like, I need to go to Sedona for 5 days. See Calvin.
No, she never said that. That's not her thing, you know.
Okay.
It's my thing. And hey, listen, I did other
Yeah.
crazy things. Uh, one day, a bunch of years ago, this amazing woman, I said, I got this thing. I need to go. I shouldn't be telling you. I said, people are gonna say I need to be on the couch. But these are true things. I said, I'm going to fly down to Florida. There's a dock, an old dock where they filmed this movie Key Largo with Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, and they filmed it in I think 51, 52.
Hmm.
And I said I gotta go find that dock. It's somewhere on the Keys in Isla Morada, and I'm just gonna take my shoes off and put my foot on the dock to absorb the molecules of Bogart and Lauren Bacall. I got to do that. And she said to me, Calvin, go ahead, do it. Have a nice time. Goodbye. And we'll be here when you get back. And a couple of days later, I flew down, spent a few days there meditating and stuff, and found that dock, took off my shoes and socks, put my foot on it for about 30 seconds because it was all corroded, and I flew home. But these are the kind of things this amazing woman, and because it's all searching for something,
Hmm.
Eden. It's searching for something
Hmm.
and fulfilling the something. And and it's led me to some wonderful, accomplishments. And my channel, I interview people all over the world.
Yeah. How did you start your podcast from the journalism aspect? Did that lead into this? Because basically, from what I understand, you're the purpose of your podcast, We the Species. Tell me if that. I think that's correct.
Correct,
Is
correct.
really just to meet interesting people. Is that right?
Yeah, I was the journalism I was doing at NJ Discover with my co-host Tara Jean McDonald Bonanno. She and I became great friends, and we did all these wonderful. When we got together, 15 years ago, we decided to do the kind of journalism. Now we had a TV station behind us,
Mm-hmm.
and we decided to do meaningful kind of journalism that nobody could devote time to. So we did,
So
I did
great.
stories on autism. I did 6 or 7 stories on autism. We covered and spent a week on and on. We didn't live there, but we did Tent City where homeless people live. And we went back and forth to get the feeling. So we were doing amazing. It was amazing, amazing journalism. And the stories we did and the people we interviewed. We had Gilbert Gottfried, who at the time was one of the hottest comedians in the country, was sitting there at my kitchen table before we interviewed him at our studio a couple blocks away. I mean, it was wonderful stuff. And then boom, COVID.
Mm. Mm.
And that was a thud. So we couldn't do our TV show anymore. And I loved doing that as the producer and the host. And for your audience out there, I'm a retired guy, obviously, and I had
Are
time on
you?
my obviously. I don't know what that means, but I was sitting in this chair, and I said to myself, why don't I connect with some people on social media, and I'm a little OCD at times. So I sat in this chair 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, actually for 2 years, connecting with people on social media who fit this umbrella of things I was interested in. Environment. I'm an environmentalist and stuff, and all this stuff. And so I had a nice collection of people in my social media. One particular thing I won't mention, but I already had 13,000 connections, and they were all organic. And one day, in August of 2020, I had connected with a student at Rutgers University, Claudine. She was a track star and a triple jump record holder. So I connected with her. And then a little bit later, I sent her a message, nice to connect, and asked her a couple of questions. And she got back to me. And she was so grounded and so mature. She's a sophomore. So I said to her, hey, why don't we talk on the phone? Would you like to do that? I was mentoring Rutgers students at the
Yeah.
time. Before COVID, I was actually mentoring 12 students at the same time. So I was back and forth to campus, 3 times a week. And I loved mentoring and teaching and giving and stuff. So we picked up the phone and we talked, and
Okay,
she
so
was
hang on just
great.
a minute, too. You were like 74 at this. You were doing before COVID, producing, doing stuff with the network, and then also doing Rutgers at the same time. Man, what a fabulous! Like never get boring. Can you imagine just sitting in a chair and just watching TV all the time? Yeah,
Well,
nuts. I couldn't.
with all due respect, I love my father, and I explore that relationship with him, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
He did for forever,
Mm,
and genetically, that's inside me, and I always knew that. My
mm,
wife knew it too. She said, it's a balance. I could easily, even have gone to watching TV. I love old movies. I could have easily gone to watching movies and television all day long, maybe reading the newspaper when they had newspapers, and that could have been easily my life, but I went the other way.
okay.
Uh,
Why'd you go the other way?
I don't know. Well, spiritually, I was directed to go the other way. Now that all these things that have happened to me are so beyond anything that I could have ever. So these are all things that just kind of happen as you go along. Nothing was ever thought about. There was no game plan. I wrote this, and I knew that this was put into my head, and I showed you when we were together, the spiritual component of this. Did
Mm.
I?
Yes, you did with your grandfather.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it took me 10 years. Hey, it took me 10 years to figure out who did this in my life.
Mm.
And I don't know why. And I'm named after my grandfather. I never knew him because he died in 1937. He came from Russia, was an immigrant. Duh. He was an immigrant in 1900. And he came here, and I'm named after him. And one morning it all came together. These are such strange, haunting stories. And the odds of this, for me finding out, were like 500 million to one. I could actually prove it. Not now, but he was this influence in my life, and he's the one who put this into my head. That was the vehicle for me to completely
I
change.
suppose.
But here's my grandfather. Remembering the cover of my book is this bottle of water. So here, the morning I found out it was him, this spirit, the guardian angel. Here's that's my grandfather, and there's that bottle of water on that table.
Isn't that crazy? Okay, so for those listening, Calvin's showing a picture of his grandfather, and literally the bottle of water that goes is on your book cover. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
amazing.
So, and of course, I got goosebumps that basically never left me
Yeah.
because I found out that he's this, he's this spirit, and this was the vehicle for me to completely change my life. The journal. So going back to your question, so I'm talking on the phone to Claudine, and
Mm-hmm.
she's just wonderful. And I said, I can't believe you're like a sophomore. You're talking like you're 40 years old. You're so grounded. And then at that exact second of time, the light bulb goes off.
Yeah.
The light bulb, the light bulb says, "Why don't you interview her?" And suddenly the conversations with Calvin, we the species, comes into my head, and I decided to do a podcast and I said to Claudine, "You'll be the first." And so in September of 2020, she was the first person I interviewed, and we went on to become great friends. And I used to go to her track meets.
Oh,
And when she graduated, I was invited by her and her parents to go to this special graduation summer. It was a nice thing. And
oh.
then the channel just kind of grew and grew.
Okay. Did you know how
And
to do a podcast from your journalism experience, or you just
well, I knew
really
how to
easy to
interview.
learn?
No, I
Just
just kind of
learned.
knew how to interview, and I've done 711 of these
Yeah.
interviews and videos. There's 711 up on YouTube, uh, uh, videos and interviews. Uh, People all over the world, magically, wonderfully diverse, and I figured out all six continents. So I've been everywhere with this, and it gets better. And of course, I've met you. And did I ever think I'd be doing any of this stuff? No, no.
So within
Yeah.
all of this, and we're going to go to the practice in just a minute, what would you, in terms of someone saying, I'm bored with my life, or to get up in the morning, noting that you've had so many experiences and you've done all these different things, and you've written and you've done journalism, and you're a pharmacist, and then you sold glasses, and just, and you've adoption. And what would you tell someone who's like, I don't really, I'm just bored with my life? What would you say to them?
Well, find something. Open up, start. I mean, I was voracious, which is a great word.
Yeah.
On the internet, I would read and look and absorb and take notes. And we have so many opportunities, especially today. You're not going to be lonely, and you're not, and just exploring and learning and exploring and keep shoving. You keep shoving stuff because what I've learned. And by the way, that whole mechanism. The social aspect of the stuff I do is
Mm-hmm.
on top of everybody's list, or at least almost everybody's list for longevity. The socialization. It may not be number one, but it's in the top 10 of longevity. The more you socialize, the more you use this thing up here. It just loves to be used. And the problem is lots of people don't use it, but this head and keep shoving things into the head, the whole social aspect, and I thrive on that, and I love this. And listen, it performs. You find it performs a function. I'm doing a service because I'm giving people a platform as I grow my platform. As this grows, I'm giving people who would never in a million years have a platform. I'm giving them a piece of a platform, and that's and all these are ingredients. The giving back, the gratitude, the giving back, and doing these things are ingredients of longevity. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you do for others, it helps you, and it helps you grow, and it also does stuff inside, the chemical stuff inside the body that's good for longevity. Because listen, I'm an octogenarian now, and a ton of people my age are sitting on the front porch drinking prune juice on the rocks. I do drink prune juice now, but that's beside the point.
Well, I have another client who's older. I think he just turn, or he's about to turn 70, and he is still a triathlete. He's got his body, like he's done tests. It physically, he's like a 20-year-old. And when he went to his high school graduation recently, I can just imagine what it was like. There's him all like muscular and strong, and everybody else in wheelchairs, and just,
Yeah.
and yeah, he's just like the same way as you. Like he's still, like, of course he's still working, because I mean, you would look at him and it'd be like, why wouldn't he be working? And for me too, people ask me at some point, when are you going to retire? I'm like, why would I retire from something I love? This isn't a job, it's me. And Calvin, I think that's a brilliant way to put a podcast too. It's not just, oh, quick, I'm going to send you a note on Facebook or whatever. We're going to talk for an hour or so, and I'm going to get to know you and get to hear from you. It is such a wonderful, and I love that too. I love hearing your story. I love sharing your story. I think it's so great and inspiring. Inspiring. Can we go into the Just Be practice? If we're
Okay.
going to still stay with Afib and Jesus.
Okay. Sure.
Just be
Okay. Should I
practice.
talk about that stuff?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's two parts to this, and actually, it's all under the banner of atrial fibrillation. I have AFib, and I got it now 15, 18 years ago, whatever. It's a nasty ailment. They don't necessarily know why you get it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar found out he had it, and you could be just sitting talking to you, and all of a sudden your heart rate doubles and triples and and uh, uh, and you go into atrial fibrillation. On the surface, not it's not a life-threatening thing, but it can be. And the second my heart rate doubles and triples, I climb the walls because it's like you're exercising 24 hours a day nonstop. So it beats the hell out of your body and your mind. And so I was treated a bunch of years ago. I have two great cardiologists. I love them dearly. And they treated me with some meds, and then one day, the meds don't work, and then the next thing on the things to do is, and the scary thing about AFib, when you're in AFib and suddenly you go into normal, you go from normal rhythm to AFib, and your heart's beating crazy, and then sometimes you bounce back into normal rhythm. Blood accumulates at a valve and it forms a little clot, and you're only a couple inches away from your head. And if the clot goes to your head, you're a dead person. Boom. So you got to take blood thinners for, forever. And that was my new world, the AFib, not a happy world, because deep inside your thought processes, you're thinking about a clot and, a stroke and boom, but anyway, I was treated with it for a long time, and then when the meds stopped working, my doctor said, "Let's do an ablation." And this is like 15 years ago. An ablation was something I never wanted to do because they go into your heart for up to 5 hours and they poke around looking to find the cells that are causing the irregular heartbeat, and it could be up to 5 hours. And I tried never to have this done, but I ran out of choices, and the doctor said you got to do it. So for 2 weeks, I was a nervous wreck because I tend to be a nervous wreck. And I wrote out my last will and testament and stuff. And the night before my operation procedure, I was upstairs alone and pacing back and forth. And I had never done this before. It wasn't my world, but I sat down at the edge of my bed and I started talking to Jesus. And I wrote about it in my book. And just like you and I are talking now, I said to Jesus, I haven't really talked to you much at all, but I kind of need some help. Just like I'm talking to you,
Yeah.
I kind of need some help. I'm having a procedure tomorrow that scares the hell out of me, and I love life, and I don't want to leave, and I also know you're really busy. So just like this, and if there's a way for you tomorrow to kind of look in on me for a minute or two, that would be great. But I understand, and thanks for listening to me. And that was that. And the next day, they wheeling me into my procedure. The doctor reminds me before he puts me to sleep that it could be up to 4 or 5 hours. Have a nice sleep, dream a bit and stuff, and close my eyes. And what should have been 5 hours was 5 minutes. And because what happened was the second he went into my heart, I went into AFib. Never happens. Maybe once or twice or three times a year. Never happens. And they saw the cells right away, on the monitor, and they killed the cells, and I went right out of AFib. So in 5 minutes, the doctor goes out to tell my wife, my pillar of support, and of course she turned ashen gray because she thought I had died
Yeah.
on the table. And the doctor said, no. The doctor said to her, and eventually when I woke up, he said to me, Calvin, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've done dozens and hundreds of these things. This never happened. The second you went in, we went into your heart. You went into AFib, so we killed the cells, and you're out of AFib. And he said to me, and this was very profound. He said to me, Calvin, you must have had some help in there. And that was an illumination for me that I did, in fact, have some help. It was a spiritual thing. And it was all part, of this spiritual journey that I've been on these last couple of decades, hugely spiritual. And then the other thing about positivity, I ain't no expert. And I'm always quick, as I always tell you and everybody, I'm just a regular guy here in New Jersey who goes to Rutgers football and Rutgers basketball games. I eat tuna subs with or without provolone cheese. I'm a
Uh-huh.
regular guy, but I've been gifted, I've been gifted with wonderful spirituality because we all have it, I believe. And
I
I write
agree.
about it in my book. We all have it. Nobody's left out
Mhm.
of spiritual. Problem is, 99.99% of us are too busy doing whatever we're doing, and for whatever reasons, we don't embrace and engage that wonderful spirituality. I think we all have an antenna, and if we take that antenna and stick it high up and unroll it and stick it up, that antenna picks up things, and the more you receive, the more you get, and the more you want to receive, and the more you get in life. So, uh, to wrap up this positivity thing, I've battled with this AFib for 15, 20 years, and finally, last December, a year ago, November actually, a year ago, I was in a nasty AFib. It was nasty, and my doctor said, "Let's put you in the hospital for 5 days." And we're going to monitor you. And we're going to give you the strongest drug known for AFib. And the problem with the drug is the good thing is when it works, it works. You're normal. The other problem is when it don't work, it could kill you in a second.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I said, all right, well, at least I'll be in a hospital. They can kind of watch. So they took me into the hospital and gave me this drug. They hooked me up to all kinds of cardiac monitors. And in 3 days, it's supposed to work. It didn't. It didn't. And so they then took me downstairs and they paddled me. It's called cardioversion. And they paddled me with electricity. They stopped my heart and started again. Nothing. 2 days later, on my fifth day there, they paddled me again with electricity, the cardioverted me. Nothing. So the doctor came to me and said, Calvin, you know what? Your body wants to be an AFib. Let it be an AFib. Now, as long as you are relatively asymptomatic and you don't have a lot of symptoms and stuff, and you can live with it and deal with it, live with it and deal with it, and we'll deal with things as they pop up. And they said, go home, have a Merry Christmas. Boom, boom, boom. Home I went. So in January, being positive and doing the meditation that I do all day long to spirits, and I've been doing this for 15 years. I have a little group of spirits that I communicate with many times a day, and it's wonderful for me. And I call them spirits because they're spirits and they're real, and stuff works, and some of the things I could talk for hours on some of these spiritual elements to my life. They're wonderful and they're inexplicable, and the healing and the whole thing. Somebody up there is watching me,
Yeah.
and I'm a regular guy, and but anyway, I thought about it and thought about it and trying to be positive. I just wanted to get out of AFib. I hate being in it. Not that it's going to kill me right away, but so I said to myself, being positive, how about if I take my body and I restore it to where it was like 40 years ago, weight wise? It's like a computer. If you want to fix it, you restore your computer to 6 months in the past. It's a function that all computers have. But anyway, so I then embarked on a really religious diet, and I eat red meat and stuff, and so I mean, I do eat some chicken, turkey, eggs, and blah blah. I'm a flexitarian. So, but anyway, I watched myself, and by early February last year, I had lost 30 pounds, and my weight was really what it was 40 years ago.
Mm.
So one day, a year ago, February 12th, something like that, I have this little portable EKG thing called Cardia. And you just put your two fingers and two fingers on it. And I always do it every day just to look. And of course, I'm an AFib. And I put my fingers on it, and boom, I was in normal sinus rhythm. Boom. And every day I checked normal. And I went to see my both doctors separately in March and April last year. Hey, what's the deal here, guys? I have this progressive disease. I'm normal. And I love when modern medicine tells me, well, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't
Right.
know.
Right. Because there's so
We
much
don't
more to
know.
it.
So anyway, as we speak, basically a year later, I've been in normal sinus rhythm for a year. It is a positive a piece of positivity and joy and gratitude, uh, uh, and the lessons that it teaches about the world and the things that are beyond. It's a positive story of positivity. I keep saying that word, but that's what it is. And there is no explanation. And yes, there's a lot of knowledge involved. There are triggers. There are triggers that, and every trigger that can put you into AFib. I never did. I was never a drinker, but a glass of wine, 5 or 6 years ago, red wine is supposed to be healthy. But I don't even smell alcohol. That's a trigger, and all the other things. The diet, the whole diet. I mean, I haven't had red meat since 1975, so all these things help. But there's that element of spirituality,
Yeah.
and positivity that keeps me normal, and it's wonderful. It's good for this, and you know what? It fuels me. It fuels me in the work that I do. It's one less thing to worry about, Eden.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to put your website down on the video portion, but also the link to your show. And I think I'm on it again with you for the second time in a week or so. I really enjoyed being there. I feel like our connection, because of that too, it's deeper. Like I know you, you also know me. So everybody check Calvin out and his books. It's really interesting. We talked about this a little bit about how, and I get it now. It's, well, not that I get it, that we are in a world of such quick, oh, here's a quick short video for a minute or two, that it's to sit down and digest something meaningful and taking the time to do that. That's what books kind of require. So try it out, everybody. Maybe you do that anyway. Calvin, I wish you continued success. Thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing you, and I always say your heart, but it's true. You shared a lot of your heart, and especially towards the end with Afib. I think we're done here. Anything else you want to add?
I'm grateful to the universe that we met, because
Yeah,
all
too.
this is, all this is part of the grand scheme, and it is a grand scheme, and connectivity, and the mysterious universe is a wonderful thing. Things meant to be. So I'm thrilled that we met, Eden. Thank
Me
you.
too. You're welcome. All right, y'all. Next week, stay tuned. See you, Calvin. Say goodbye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Y'all, find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Truth Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So like, subscribe, do it all. See ya.